Hi guys, welcome back to Sweet and Sour Soccer and welcome back to this week's Championship predictions. Of course, the international break is fastly approaching being over, which now means we can look forward to the league returning. Guys, if you're keeping up with our weekly predictions between myself and Tom, quick little update on that. I had an awful week before the international break. I need to come back, and Tom had a much better week, which now means we are tied on 32 points each. I need to do well on this one. Hopefully you guys will like my predictions, and hopefully I will get my lead back, but we shall see. Let's jump straight in. Let's waste no more time, because we start off with two, actually. There's two good games coming up on the Friday night. I need to actually check which one of the two's on TV, to be honest, because I haven't done that. But whichever one is, I'll be watching them. Well, the first one is Hull, who take on Coventry. And I think this is going to be a really good game, because it's two teams which I think are going to do pretty well in the division from what we've seen so far this season. Of course, we've already spoke before on the channel about how good Hull's transfer window really was. And of course, Coventry City, they've lost some, decent players. They've lost Harmer. They obviously lost Gorkarez as well, but they have tried to replace them. And it does have to be said, they still have goals in them. They may be conceding a little bit too much at times, but it doesn't look like the goals have gone, which is always going to mean that you're going to do pretty decent in this league. As for Hull, though, they're going to be full of just a good feeling. The first team to actually get anything out of Leicester City in the league. And, well, they went one better than that, and they got the win just before the international break. There's going to be some teams that really like the fact that the international breaks happen, because it gives, a team like Middlesbrough, gives them a time to much needed reset. I think Hull will be a little bit disappointed after that big win, but they did go into a break, but we shall see. A little fact, Coventry have actually drawn the last 3 games in the league. I am going to have to say that they're going to draw again. I'm actually going to go for a 1-1 draw in this one. I think it'll be two very good competitive teams giving it a real good go. It could go either way, much like a lot of team games in the Championship, but I am going to go for a 1-1 prediction. Let's move on to two teams that actually played their trade in the Premier League last season, and this is the other Friday night game. As I say, it wouldn't actually surprise me if this is the one that is on the TV. It's Southampton taking on Leicester. Again, this is going to be a really interesting game, because, of course, both teams lost before the international break. Now, of course, Leicester City have done a lot better in general, starting the season really, really well. Before that, they were unbeaten. They'd got an absolute complete perfect record. So it's no wonder that their new manager, his first job after being Pep's assistant, has come in and he has got the manager of the month. Of course, sometimes winning the manager of the month does sometimes mean that managers then go on to have an absolute disaster class the next one. Leicester City will be hopeful that will not be the case, but it will not be an easy game going down all the way down to St. Mary's against the Southampton team that, despite the international break, are going to have some venom to try and fight back. It was a huge 5-0 defeat that they had against Sunderland. A little bit shocking, I think so. We know Sunderland are a good team, but look, Southampton look a good team as well. They've definitely got some good players at this level. So I think it was a little bit shocking to see them lose that much, but, fair play to Sunderland, really. And I think, we will see Saints really wanting to turn that around and really trying to get the better against Leicester to kind of send out some kind of statement to go, you know what? That was a one-off result. That was a shock. We are here to be serious contenders in this league. I think this is going to be another close game, and I think both of the Friday games will finish as a 1-1 prediction. Guys, I will obviously bring up Tom's predictions either at the end, or if I've not got them when I'm editing the video, I will basically throw them down in the comments as well. So you'll be able to see them one way or another to let me know whose predictions you think are better. Let's move on to Stoke now, who take on Norwich, of course, Norwich being the home team. And I want to start off with Stoke, actually, because this is a team for me which I think is massively underperforming so far this season. After seeing the transfer window they've clearly got some quality in the squad. And I'm really starting to look at Alex Neil and wondering, is your time going to be up not too soon? If things do not improve. He's one of those managers I'm keeping an eye on. Could he be one of the first managers to go this season? I do think that, Stoke should be performing a lot better. I think they've got a really good squad and they should be competing. I think Stoke fans might feel that they should have done better last season as well. And I think that acclimatization of pressure could mean that obviously Alex Neil does come under pressure, because I do think they should be doing better than what they are. Now, of course, one of their wingers that they did get on loan, Chiquinho, he has unfortunately been sent back because of his apparently bad attitude, and probably wasn't too happy about not getting into the team straight away. I suppose if that is the truth, then maybe that would be better, a good thing for Stoke, really. But, it does mean they've lost one of the players that they did bring in, but they've got some real other host of talent within the team. Norwich, on the other hand, they are another side that are looking very good. I think just before the break, they've also, or was it just during the break, wasn't it actually? There's an exciting experienced centre-back, Danny Barth, who's very good at this level, and he will obviously bring in a little bit of an additional experience and maybe as cover when's needed. But they did suffer a loss to Rotherham, which they'll be wanting to try and bounce back from. It's clear, though, with this team that Norwich have got goals in them. I do fancy Norwich to get the win at home, and I'm actually going to go a 3-1 result to Norwich in this fixture. Hi everyone, just a quick one from me before we get back to the video. If you could do me a massive favour and hit that like button, it really does help us out at the moment, especially when YouTube don't seem to be pushing as smaller channels videos. A little like can really help. And if you are enjoying the video as well, please do subscribe if you haven't done so already. And let's get back to these championship predictions. Let's move on speaking about Blackburn, who take on a Middlesbrough team who, well, just don't look very good, do they? It's actually interesting. I was speaking to Tom about this as we saw in the last games week. Once again, Middlesbrough suffering another defeat. And I went, I don't know what's going wrong with Middlesbrough. But then I started to look into it, and I'll bring up a graphic on screen as well, guys, hopefully, which you can see. It was the difference between Middlesbrough team compared to the last game of the season compared to where they found themselves, 2 weeks ago. And it's so drastic and so just there to see how different this squad is. There is a real lack of quality, and it's a real shame just how bad the squad looks compared to last season. Do I think Middlesbrough will go down? I don't think they will, but they have got to try and turn things around. And I don't think it's going to be easy to do so against Blackburn. This is a team that are not, they're a team that could be sometimes looking brilliant, sometimes looking not so brilliant. And I do think they have to find some consistency, but they have got goal scorers. They have pulled off some good results this season. And I think for that reason, I expect Middlesbrough misery to continue even longer. I am actually going to say a 2-0 win to Blackburn in this one. Let's move on to speak about Bristol City taking on West Bromwich Albion. And Bristol City are one of those teams, actually, that, they find themselves in a good position. I think they currently sit 8th in the table at the moment, and it was one of those teams where I think they've just started to get some results. They've just been ticking along nicely, and I've kind of been writing them off a bit, but they're looking like a pretty decent team. They're at the moment they're scoring a goal per game, but they're only conceding a goal per game as well. So you're not really going to be in trouble there. And you've also got the basis to then go on and build. Of course, you hope that it goes the right way instead of the wrong way, and you don't end up starting to concede more than you are scoring. But it's given them a good base for the start of the season. And I think that will therefore make it a very interesting game as they come up against a West Brom team who, a little bit different within their fixtures so far. They've actually scored 10 goals. I think that's 2 per game, and they've only conceded 9. They've conceded 9 goals is what I meant to say. So this is obviously a team that have got more goals in them, so to speak, but they're also liable to concede as well. If you're a West Brom fan, then you're probably sitting there thinking, you know what, let's just go at them. Let's see if we can use our attacking strength and try and win the game by basically just scoring more. But of course, Bristol City being the home team, it perhaps won't be that easy. I think this is going to be, and I think it's my third one I've called so far, but it's my third 1-1 draw of the lot. I'm going to call another 1-1 draw. I think there's going to be a goal for both teams in this, and Bristol City will keep up their record so far this season of scoring 1 goal and then also averaging a goal conceded every game. Let's move on speaking about Watford, who take on Birmingham now. And Watford, one of those interesting teams this season, because apart from the one game, and I think that was their loss that they had recently before the international break, they've actually achieved more possession than the teams that they've faced throughout like every game. And in some instances, it's been as high as like the high 60s or even low 70s. But of course, that's not really materialized into the kind of results that Watford might want to see. But it, again, gives you a good basis, to really build on. If you've got the possession, you've then just got to keep on going and trying to actually make some of it. So the potential is there, but it's whether that potential will come to fruition. Of course, it's great to see your team having the majority of the game and the majority of the possession, but it's a lot more better to actually see them go and pick up the results, which is exactly what Birmingham City have been doing their opponents. Birmingham might have not been having the most possession in the games that they've been playing, but they've been finding a way to win. They've been very good on the counter-attack, and they've also know how to find where the net is, basically. Actually, in fact, Blues find themselves unbeaten at the moment, and they've only conceded 3. So that just shows what I mean. They know how to get a result. They're making themselves hard to concede against, score against, I should say, making themselves hard to score against, even though they're not seeing the vast of the possession. This, therefore, makes it a very interesting game, because I think this will really feed into Birmingham City's gameplay once again. They'll be happy to let Watford have the possession, but they'll also test Watford's resolve when they need to. And I think for that reason, I expect the Blues to edge it. I'm going to go 2-1 for Birmingham in this one. I expect them to continue their good form this season. Let's move on to speak about 2 teams that I've said were going to be in trouble this season. It's Huddersfield, who take on Rotherham. And one thing I will start off with, actually, is the fact that obviously both teams now have found themselves with a win. Huddersfield, they got themselves off the mark. They got their first win of the season. So there's a little bit of hope for both teams. The one thing I would say, though, is I think Rotherham, have more cause maybe than Huddersfield to actually beat the drop this year. The main reason is I think they've got goal scorers. Oyedema, I always pronounce his name wrong. Hugel, who's obviously very, he's a very good striker in this division. He knows where to find the net. And, you've also got experienced players such as Morrison, who can come off the bench as well. I think little players like that maybe will give them just enough to actually stay up. Obviously, in the last game as well, they also scored an absolutely spectacular goal. Right back Lembiska. If you haven't seen it, just go and try and find it somewhere, because it was an absolute joy. But when it comes to this game, I think it is going to be one of those games where I think Rotherham will just have that slight little bit too much. So I am actually going to go for Rotherham to win this one. Another win for them, 1-0, I believe, in this game. Sheffield Wednesday taking on Ipswich next. And, for Wednesday, well, at least they finally got off and got themselves a point. If you're looking for some positives, the negatives are Wednesday are obviously conceding too many. They're finding themselves in quite a bit of trouble the way at the start of the season. And again, one of those teams that with the international break might just give them a little chance to reset, come at afresh. And you've got a game at home as well to try and, just maybe turn the tide a little bit. Get the mood changing, the feeling around the club changing, and maybe then you can really get your season off and started and just feeling a bit more good. But it's not going to be easy taking on an Ipswich Town team who, well, they just look a very good team, don't they, in general? They've got a whole host of players, whether they're permanent signings, loan signings, that can add some real class in this division and really hurt you as well. Obviously, they've got the youngster Amari Hutchinson, who's come in. They've got Broadhead, they've got Chaplin, they've got Hurst. These are players that are really going to hurt you in this division. And it shows by the fact that they've started the season very well. We know that Ipswich have, ambitious owners as well, and they really want to get this club to the promised land. Well, they're going the right way about it so far. I do think they'll get the win against Sheffield Wednesday, and I think actually they're going to do it in some style. I'm going to back Ipswich to win a big 3-0 in this one. Sorry, Wednesday fans. Let's move on to speak about Queen's Park Rangers now, who take on a Sunderland team who will be, very, very happy with their last resort, that huge 5-0 win. I think it was one of them, weren't it? They just really, really took it to that Southampton team, really caught them off guard, hit them early, hit them with some power. And yeah, it was just a really good all-round win. QPR, they're one of those teams at the moment that I think they're another team that's going to struggle, to be honest. I think things just haven't looked really good, have they, since Beale left with QPR? I mean, they've just never really recovered. And I think he's on the brink, or he may have even been sacked with Rangers. It's just a real shame when you look back and think, well, maybe if they had stayed together, things could have been different. But look, I think this is going to be a difficult game anyway for Queen's Park Rangers. And I do think they are sadly going to lose this. I expect Sunderland to get the win. Sunderland fans, you will get the win 2-0 to you. Let's move on to speak about top of the table. Preston North End, who take on Plymouth Argyle. And these are probably two of the teams that have really, one, impressed me this season, but have two also shocked me this season so far. What I really like about Preston, for instance, is we know what you're going to get with Preston. You're going to get a team that is very vigilant in defence. They're not going to concede too many. And I'd always usually throw in, well, they're not going to score too many either. And this is why you sometimes saw a lot of 0-0s, 1-1s with Preston. But this is not the case. It's different with Preston this season. They are scoring 4 wins as well on the bounce. But it does have to be said, Will Keane, injury in international break, which is going to be an absolutely huge blow for them. At the time of recording, we don't know how bad that is going to be, but of course it has been Preston's talisman so far, so it will be interesting to see whether they will be able to keep up that might and obviously, keep the results going without having him really leading the line. But they are at home and they come up against a Plymouth team that I think is going to be very hard to beat at home. But we have to see whether they'll be able to find that sort of form away from home as well. We've already seen them pick some big results at home, and that alone will be enough for Plymouth to stay in the league this season. But if they want to maybe get a bit higher, they've obviously got to push on a little bit and get those big results as well. I'm going to go for a Preston win in this one. I do think Preston will just edge it still, and I've actually got Preston to win 2-1. Let's move on to, Cardiff taking on Swansea. And this is a huge game, actually. I don't think it's on the telly. If it's not, it's a shame it's not, because, it's obviously a huge game. I think there's going to be two teams that haven't had the best start to the season, but are really just going to go at each other. There's obviously going to be a great atmosphere. There's going to be, just that tension in the air, that feel about it of needing to get the result, needing to get one on over on your rivals. And I think because of that, we might see some goals. I think both teams, they've got the ability to score, but they've also got the ability to concede as well, as we've seen so far this season with both teams. I think for that reason, I'm going to go for a very Derby Day result of a draw. I'm going to call it safe in that regard, but I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Let's move on with the last game of this championship week, and it is another tasty game, isn't it? Millwall, who take on Leeds United. Millwall, Millwall just doing what Millwall do, a pretty stable start to the season, ticking along. I think it's one of them, actually. It's surprising that they've got 2 wins so far this season, despite only scoring 4 goals in their 5 games. I think, that does really just show that they're doing well to get the wins from somewhere, and perhaps meaning that, it's not easy to obviously get the ball in the net past them. But something has to click with this Leeds team, and I'm still backing that something has to click eventually with this Leeds team. I think they're one of the teams that would be so happy about this international break. And I just think they've got some quality in there. I really do. They have still got, they've obviously lost a lot of players, but they've still got a lot of quality. They've still got, obviously, a lot that can hurt other teams. And I think they will get the result here. I'm actually going to go for a pretty big one. I'm going to go Leeds 3, Millwall 1, which I know is going to maybe be an unpopular call with the Millwall fans watching. All I can say is I just have a feeling. I usually back Millwall at home, but I just have a feeling something's telling me Leeds might just click into action this week. Guys, let me know, as always, your predictions in the comments below. And if you have enjoyed the video, as I said before, please do hit that like button. Please do subscribe to the channel, and hopefully me and Tom will catch you on the predictions next week. I think there's going to be 2 videos actually, because we've obviously got the first lot of the Tuesday games, and then we'll obviously release on the for the Saturday games as well. So expect to release maybe Sunday, and then also probably the usual Thursday night release. So guys, anyway, I'll catch you soon. Take care. Goodbye.